Welcome, Fred. It's great to have you at EOS Workcoin for interview.
Thank you very much.
We were just talking about you. We shared the same background on Wall Street.
Yep.
And
I was a trader for many years. I was a trader first for Salomon Brothers, which was in the days of Liar's Poker, which my friend Michael Lewis wrote.
Good friend. Wow. Yeah, Michael Lewis.
Yep.
Amazing.
So we were contemporaries at Salomon Brothers, and of course, then he became a best-selling author afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really expected that at the time. They thought it was a joke that he was writing this book.
Yeah. So he sold books, and you sold companies. How many have you sold?
I've sold 9 companies. Ranging from everything from photo editing. So if you've used Adobe Photoshop?
Yes, Photoshop.
So you know the concept of layers in Adobe Photoshop? Yes. I invented that.
Oh, layers are so popular.
Everything, you can't imagine not having layers.
Yes. Oh,
but believe it or not, I'm the inventor of the concept of layers, and I sold that company to Macromedia here in San Francisco in 1995. And Adobe, I think they got it in 1997.
Yeah,
so 2 years
Macromedia
later.
made Flash, right?
Macromedia bought Flash, and then it was an acquisition, and then they had Macromedia Flash, and actually they sold Macromedia to Adobe, so it merged in with Adobe.
Yeah.
So my product became Adobe Fireworks. That was my first company. It was a graphic design software company.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
How did you get into crypto?
I got into crypto through my friend Brock Pierce. So I've known Brock for I think about 10 years now in LA, and I didn't take him very seriously. He was always talking about crypto, and I always thought it was sort of a joke. And then he told me, Fred, I'm going to do. It was back in May of 2017. He said, Fred, I'm going to do this ICO, and I go, an IPO? And he goes, no, an ICO. And so I said, okay. And then he explained it to me, and I said, Brock, you're going to go to jail. And then when he didn't go to jail, it's like, this is amazing. This is something incredible. I got to understand what's happening here. And so, it took me a while, but I got involved in September of last year, and I sort of was searching for something to do. And it struck me as that the fundamental use of crypto is money. It's sort of an electronic form of money, right? And so I thought that would be really great for paying people, especially contractors. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, okay, let's build something like Fiverr or Upwork, but using crypto as the payment mechanism. Mm-hmm. And so we started building that, and then we realized with Ethereum, that Ethereum just wasn't going to work. It sounded great, but like for us to actually build a platform that consumers would use, that was never going to happen. Mm-hmm. So we switched over to EOS, and EOS was just about to come out. And then when EOS came out, we were kind of shocked because we thought, okay, there's going to be probably some documentation, there's going to be wallets, there's going to be a lot of stuff, and there was nothing. And when it came out, right? So we said, okay, we're going to have to build some stuff for ourselves. So we said, and there was some, there was IM token was there on the Chinese wallet, and then there was also, Graymass and had something, and Scatter had some very early stuff. But we were thinking none of these things is going to really work for us, for a consumer app, that we wanted to build. Like, really, I mean, I'm nothing against Chinese wallets, but like for, a Western consumer, you can't say to go to an app where there's a lot of Chinese characters and news and it's in Chinese and stuff like that. So we felt that there was a need to build sort of a very sort of Apple-centric kind of wallet. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we set out to build Lynx. And we sort of built it really for ourselves initially. We were thinking, okay, this would be a great front end for Workcoin. And then it turns out everybody in America had the same problems that we did. And so, I think it became a sort of a big hit because, it just sort of hit the market and everybody sort of, it resonated with people in this country and in Europe. Not so much in China, I don't think. But you know, we'll figure out that as we go. You know, whether we want to do something in that market or in Korea or whatnot. But yeah, so that's how we got into it, and you know, it's still very early days. You know, we think that EOS is fantastic. It's you know, it's a blockchain that actually works. It's very fast. It has very low cost. You know, so there's a lot to love with EOS, I think, and.
Right.
So we're excited about working with, especially with the DEXs and, you know, with other apps that integrate. So it's like an ecosystem, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, you get your tokens, you hold them in a wallet. Well, you may want to take those tokens now and start trading them for other tokens, right? So you need to have some really good integration with the DEX, you know. So we like that idea of like, okay, I'm just going to come here and it's going to be one click to go trade the DEX, okay. Also, I need to be able to cash out, right? So I need to be able to get fiat, right? So we basically taken an initiative now to build our own stablecoin, and so we're working with Prime Trust, and we're going to introduce our own stablecoin on EOS, which will right from the wallet you'll be able to deposit money, link a bank account, and then if you receive these USDEs, then you can decide to just cash them in, and then you can have them just transfer out to your bank account immediately. So we think that could be really transformative for a lot of applications, especially sort of work payment kind of applications, right? So right now, if you look at kind of what's really working on EOS right now, there's a lot of casino stuff that's really working, right? You know, a lot of betting things are really working, and that's great, you know. But you know, I think it can be a lot more than just one big casino, you know. So I'd love to see more business apps and especially more payment apps. So you know, I'd like people to do payroll on EOS. I'd love to do invoicing on EOS. I'd like to do a lot of peer-to-peer payments on EOS, you know. And so for those kind of things, I really need a stablecoin because, you know, even though EOS is pretty stable right now, it's not always been stable. It can move 10% in one day.
Yes.
Right. So, you know, when you have something that's moving 10% in one day, that's fine if you're a speculator and that's, you know, you're just making some long-term bet. But if you're trying to pay the rent, that's no good at all. It doesn't work, you know. So we view that stablecoins are going to be the next step, you know, to really push this thing to the stratosphere.
And I do know that there are some stable coins that it's really hard to convert to fiat, but your stable coin from the design ground up, it's going to be
it's a redeemable coin, right? So you know, I think, you know, if it's not redeemable, then you have to wonder. You know, people can say, well, it's backed by something, right? Yeah. But if the price goes down, so what? You know, like, it's backed, but you know, it's not. I think some people have called it the Kruger test because I say, you know, one of the things that I want in a stablecoin is I want the ability to know that if I have $100, that I can cash it in and get $100, right?
Right.
If I have that, and I know that, then I sort of don't care. You know, that's the only thing I really care about. You know, can I redeem the thing? You know, right. And so if I can, then great. That's wonderful, and that's the only thing I really care about in a stablecoin. And so right now, you know, if you look at Tether, right? Tether, you don't know even what bank it is, really. Right. You know, so I think we know now it's Deltec Bank in Bahamas, but you know, it's not like you can just open an account and start moving your Tether in at par. You know, so you know, even True USD, which is, you know, using the same backend as us, which is Prime Trust, they haven't worked out the redemption that easily.
Very crucial for most users.
It's very crucial because, especially if you're looking at a payment thing, like, you know, so my sister's a gardener, right? Mm-hmm. So she's like, well, Fred, I said, I've got this Workcoin app, and she goes, well, that's fine, but how am I going to take this Workcoin or whatever you're going to give me, this EOS thing? How do I take it and I pay my bills with it? You know, mm-hmm. So, you know, if she has to go to Coinbase or first to Kraken and then to get some Bitcoin and then to like somewhere else to convert it out, it's just not worth it. You know, it's too difficult. So you have to make it redeemable very easily.
It feels like you are like a pioneer on EOS.
Yeah.
And then you start doing like a wallet as first step and then stable coin.
Yeah.
And then eventually you were talking about like a payment system?
Yeah, so we have this Workcoin system. It's actually coming out eventually. It's coming out next week. So basically we built this whole way for you to basically pay people and buy the job, right? But pay them just in the same way you'd hire somebody on Upwork, right? Or on Fiverr, right? So those are the two models for like outsourced work. Upwork is great when you want to hire people, especially programmers, by the hour. And Fiverr is great if you want to hire like people by the flat rate. Like, I just want to get somebody for $200 to do something, right? We sort of have a little bit of a hybrid model, and you can either pay flat rate or you can pay hourly. But the key thing is, it's all handled by smart contracts. So you pay, you put the money in a smart contract. They know that you've prepaid, right? And then when the job's done, you press a button, they get the money immediately. So one of the big advantages is that there's, first of all, no fees, as long as you've staked our Workcoin. So no fees. That's just very similar to EO's model. And number two, it's instant, right? So you don't have to wait, a week or a month to get paid.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Like, especially the time thing is a big deal for a lot of people. So that's sort of our third project, if you will, really.
And is the Workcoin project going to be global or starting in the US first? Or
well, it's nothing local about it, right? So we are not, there's no, it's not like Yelp, which is like, there's tied to any geography. There's no notion of geography in it, right? It's a global thing. And, just like Upwork, most of the people that you're hiring on Upwork actually are in Eastern Europe, right? Or in India, or Malaysia, or Philippines, or places where labor is relatively cheap, right? So I think, we're not looking at local services at all, right? We're not, I think that's too that's a whole another layer of complication, right? Because now it's sort of like, I need you to show up at my house. Where are you on a map? Why aren't you there? Who's at the door? All this other stuff. So that's a different thing. We're not interested in that. We're only interested in stuff that can be delivered over chat, and that can be delivered asynchronously over chat. And I think that's an enormous market. And it's these are billion-dollar companies. Like Upwork and Fiverr is going to be a billion-dollar company now. A lot of people don't realize how big that company is actually at this point. But like, these are big companies, and it's a big, big market, and these are growing. It's going to continue to grow because we're living in this world of outsourced work. So this is a theme that I think is going to be, going forward for the next 10 years, is going to be a huge theme, right? 10 years from now, we're not going to have jobs. We're all going to be contractors. We're all going to be working. There'll be a few of us who work for Apple or Google or something like that, but the most of us are going to be freelancers, right? That's what most of us are going to be doing.
I also believe in that vision as well, and it's really amazing because you don't commute to work, you just wake up and you start working.
Right, and you can work anywhere. You can work anywhere, right? Yeah. So there's going to be this freedom. Like, I think one of the things that I'm in San Francisco now. We're in San Francisco, and we're witnessing a city where the rents are really high, where the quality of life is no longer so great, right? So you're struggling to live on $100,000 a year, right?
Yes.
Well, I can tell you that there's a lot of places where $100,000 a year gives you a great lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're in the middle of France, $100,000 a year is enormous, right? You can live like a king in the middle of France on $100,000 a year. So you can live in South America like a king on $100,000. So I think these are great things. I think people, and the great thing is, we're going to be, the great experts are going to be able to make great money wherever they want to be. And, and they'll be able to work, and that'll give them this freedom.
Right.
But we need crypto to really get that layer of freedom, right? So that everybody can really just be their own boss and work from wherever they are.
Right.
There's going to be some great people. They're going to command great salaries, great hourly rates. I keep on thinking of the example of this. There was this firefighter named Red Adair in the petroleum industry, and I think his daily rate was like $100,000 if you wanted to hire him, right? But he was the guy. If you had a fire in petroleum, you'd have to hire Red Adair. So like there are certain people. I mean, if Red Adair could do consulting on my Workcoin, I'm sure he would have charged that kind of rate. So I think you're going to see some really high paid jobs. It won't just be somebody in the Philippines doing something for $10 an hour. I think you're going to have great lawyers or great doctors, giving advice for $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, So I think you're going to have, it's going to change the way work is done. And, and all these people are just going to be paid in crypto, and they're going to be paid directly, and they're not going to pay somebody like Upwork 20%, and they're not going to get paid a month later. And they're not going to also be beholden to a platform, right? So they're going to be able to develop their own brands. So I'm Fred Kruger, right? If you wanted to hire me to talk about, say, internet advertising, well, just based on this face, you're not going to say, well, I don't know. This face, a guy named Fred. But now if you looked at my LinkedIn, you'd see, well, I've sold 4 major ad tech companies, right? So actually, probably I know a thing or two about internet advertising, right? So, I sold a company to Singapore Telecom for $250 million, called Adconian. Oh, I know a lot about internet advertising. So, if you have an internet advertising thing and you wanted to consult with me, yeah, my rate might be $500 an hour, but probably be extremely worthwhile, Yeah. So, similar with you, if I want to really get involved in the world of crypto exchanges, and I'm interested in investing there, and I need to get your opinion of some of the other exchanges and stuff. You might be able to be, give your opinion at a high rate, and it'd be worthwhile. So, yeah, I believe in unequal pay. I believe in, but this is all great. So it works at every level. It works for the guys making $10 an hour. It works for the guys making $1,000 an hour.
This is a very ambitious project, and it's very good for the world. And how big is your team to take on this project?
My team is small, so a lot of people are really amazed at how we built so much. So we have really only 9 people on our team, and part of the reason they say, "How could you build it with 9 people?" I say, "We built it because we have 9 people. I've had teams of hundreds of people, and there's sometimes a reverse correlation, right? So as you get a really big team, it becomes slower and slower and slower. So my feeling is that you want the right 10 people can build anything, And just as an example, Adobe Photoshop was for the longest time written by one guy. One guy had all the code in his head for
That's
Adobe
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Wow, one person.
Yeah, one person. And that was the bread and butter of Adobe Systems, the multi-billion-dollar company. Now, there was a bunch of QA people, there was a bunch of other tech guys, but there was one core coder for Adobe Photoshop, Mark Hammond. So Mark had everything in his head, So look, I think I think the right guys is what you want, right?
Definitely. Visionaries.
Yeah. So I just think there's the difference between a great coder and a sort of a mediocre coder is not 2x, it's 20x, And so, I think we have some really great people on our team, and we work really well as a team. So we don't really need much of a bigger team. We're probably trying to do a little too much right now, so we'll probably add a few people. But I'm very cognizant. I don't want to add too many people to my team, and it's not because I can't raise more money or I can't do this. I feel like we're kind of like a small, great unit, and we work really well, very closely together on every single little decision. So if you look at, EOS Lynx, every single pixel of that thing, you can ask me about any pixel in that thing. I'll have an opinion. I'll tell you, we've debated that thing, the position of that thing, and everybody in the team will say, yeah, we thought about this over here. Why don't we have this? So I think it's a very different design philosophy than, say, if you had, okay, I have this big company, I'm going to say, I'm going to have this guy do this guy do this, this guy do this, this guy do this. That works to some extent, but, you're not going to get those really beautiful, crisp, tight user interfaces like that, I think. A lot of people were saying, well, you should write your app in React.js. We don't. So we write everything in native, and it's all done in Swift or, in Java, on the Android. So it makes it a little faster. It's just a little bit faster.
And that makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference, and it's not even conscious, but subconsciously people, they go, that feels better. I like it better. It feels. I don't know why I like it, but it's better. And it's written because it's written natively and it's written with a lot of care. And so, that's kind of our philosophy. We want to make great products. And so, our belief is if we focus on that, we make great products, people are eventually going to like the products. And so,
Workcoin is an ambitious project.
Yeah,
what would be? Do you have a next step idea?
Yeah, so we did. Well, the big problem with work. So I think right now we're close to like putting down the very beginnings of these things. Now we have to build out, really start tweaking them as far as we see user input, right? So, one of the things we did with Lynx is we started evolving it in very subtle ways, because of what people were saying. Like, they were initially, I can't find this, or I can't do this, or, how do I do this, or so the same kind of thing we want to do with Workcoin. So I think we have the general structure of the thing at this point. It's not going to change that much, and I don't think Lynx is going to change that much. It's pretty much going to be the same product a year from now. There may be some small tweaks, but those small tweaks can be significant. And I think if you look at companies like Facebook, right? Facebook hasn't changed that much in the last 5 years.
No, it hasn't.
You know what I mean? But there's like really subtle things that have happened that made their feed, what you show up in your feed, that it's optimized better to you. Somehow you like it better, right? You click on it more, the ads are a little better, So I think that, by just honing in on the experience and making sure that, that everything really is optimized for user experience. That's the thing. It's not about features. It's about making the thing absolute, so it's almost addictive, right? So people just love it. Mm-hmm. And we think the wallets is going to be something where it's going to be people right now don't view wallets as that important, but I think a wallet is going to be something like your iPhone. It's something you're going to really start caring a lot about, especially if you start using crypto a lot for like buying things or transacting, or not just little betting apps, but like if you start using it, it becomes part of your life, right? So now the user interface and the experience of it becomes really important to you. And so I think, that is just, how do we make that just in very small ways really more enjoyable for you, just using kind of that, Apple sort of philosophy of just continuous improvement, making it a little bit better, a little tweaking the user experience. So that's kind of what we wanted to do. And, I think we're probably going to slow down the feature stuff and just focus on making it better.
Yeah, like really make this product like flawless.
I mean, the difference between like, I thought this was Apple, so I dropped my phone and I had a crack in it, right? I went to an Apple store, and within an hour they had replaced my screen, and it's just like, I love Apple because of that. You know what I mean? They've done these little things, that Android didn't do that. There's no Android store, where you can go. There's no Samsung store where you can get, they replace the screen for you, So these little things, even though it doesn't happen to you very much, you start just loving Apple, and
human touch.
It's human touch, so it's addictive, right? So I think that the goal is really to make addictive products, the products that you cannot live without, that are part of your daily life, right? And I think crypto wallets are going to be that. They're going to be there are going to be things where, you really need to trust your crypto wallet. You need to feel like your coins are safe there, You need to feel like all your apps are there, that everything's talking to each other really well. So I think it's a battle for the mind, it's in a very subtle way. And so it's not just about check, 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 It might seem that way, and it may be a little bit like that, but I think very soon it's going to be like there was a lot of social networks before Facebook, and then there was just Facebook. You know what I mean? So I think there's going to be it's going to be who's got the wallets the most addictive, that the people just say this is the one. That's what I think we have to do. And so, if we just did the wallet, that's fine. But like we've got Workcoin, we have 2 sort of children. I don't want to have 3. I think that's it. And so that's it. So I'm very happy to be, I look forward to really the launch of WhaleX.
Yeah. and we look forward to a partnership with you.
Great. Thank you
so
very much. Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.